So the first step in any automation for RPA is to look at your website and see how it can be automated. So in this case, we're using the travel.state.gov website, and in its link down here is learn about your destination, and we can put in a country name, and then it will come up with some information about the country. And you can see here we have graded levels of advisory, from 1 being safe to 4 being do not travel. And in this particular exercise, we're particularly interested in the level 4 do not travel alerts. So what we're going to do is create a flag that returns true if it's do not travel and false if it's level 3 or below. So the first step is to bring up to RPA and create a new bot, or rather bot script. Okay, so once the empty script has been brought up, let's just give it a name. We'll save it as get travel advisory. All right, so now we're going to start the recorder, which is going to let us record the keystrokes on the website. So we're going to go back to the original page, and I'm going to click Edge, which is the browser we're using, and then I'm going to first of all start browser, and it's going to put in a name here. Okay, so that's now created 2 commands within my script. And now I need to navigate to the URL we're interested in, which is international travel, which is this site here. So now I can then enter some commands which the recorder will capture. So I put in France again, and then I'm just going to click on this link here to get more information, and that's all we need to do. So at that point, I can close my recorder and look at the resulting script, which we see here. So you can see the start browser, close browser are joined, so I'm just going to move that to the end. Other than that, the script should run. So let's just try it. There we are. The script is running and it started the browser. You can see here it's entering France. Ooh, there we go, it's entered France. It's clicked on the magnifying glass and then it's gone into the advisory information. Good, so that's all working. Okay, so I've made a few changes to my script. I've added some input and output variables. So I've added one input variable called in destination, which will contain the country of interest. And I've added 2 output variables. One is a flag to say do not travel if the level is 4. And then I've added a advice string, which contains the full travel advisory. I've also added a condition now that looks at the contents of the travel advisory, gets the HTML contents and then converts the HTML to a text, and then finds the string level 4 in that text. If it exists, then we assign true to do not travel because it's a level 4. Otherwise, it stays the default false. And then I've added a few log messages as well to help with debugging. And that's it. So let's just run it again, the final version. So here this time we're going to enter Russia as the travel destination, which is a level 4. And you can see it goes to the site, finds Russia level 4, and then if you look at the output here, you can see it got the HTML first, which contains the full HTML string, and then we pass that into a normal string, and then we search in there for level 4. It found level 4, so it's returned true, do not travel. So there you go, very simple bot. And now what we're going to do is publish this bot into our tenant. So now that we've published the bot to the control center, we can wrap it around a process so that it is exposed as an API. So we see here, I've created a process called travel advisory process. And I'll just edit that, show you what I've done. So that's the process name, travel advisory process. And the crucial step is here in the steps. You have one step. I've just called it run bot, the step name. And I'm defining some input and output queues. And the crucial thing is the actual bot we've published and the latest version. Once we've saved it, the API is exposed and we can now test it. All right, so now we're going to test this API using an API testing tool. In this case, I'm using Postman, but others are available. So let's start off by logging into the tenant. So this is the first step to get the bearer token. You see here, I've got an access token, which I'm going to use. I think it lasts 24 hours. So the next step is to find all the processes defined on a tenant. And you can see here, this is my process. So I'll then use this ID in the next step to get the details of the process. See here the input is the in destination parameter, and then the output is the travel advisory and a flag to say true, false, do not travel. Okay, so now we've got the schema, we can invoke the process. So using the body, I'm passing in the destination, in this case it's France. And when I press send, it comes back with an ID. Remember, this is an asynchronous API, so it's not running synchronous, so we need to wait for it to finish. So this ID is then used in the next call, which is get process result. And if I send it, you can see it's done. So we have here the output, which is level 2 exercise increased caution and out do not travel false. Let's just try it one more time. And this time, let's put in Russian Federation. So we have a new ID. Let's just run it again. The get result. You can see here, Russia level 4 do not travel. Do not travel flag is true. The next step is to plug this into IBM PAM, which is the workflow process, and see the final flow running. Okay, so now we've opened up Visual Studio Code editor, which is the heart of the PAM environment. You can see here we have our travel booking sample here, and what I'll do is start building it out. So the first step is to create the bot input parameters, and if we look at the implementation here, you'll see what I'm doing is setting the destination to the trip country. So trip is a Java object containing the destination of the traveler. So next we are going to invoke the bot, and we're using a custom task here to do this. So I've used this one I've defined here, and if I just open up the definition here, you'll see that it has data assignments which are already predefined. So this is defining my environment, which is the API I showed you earlier. Okay, so once we've built that out, we can start building out some error handling. So you see here, I'm just creating a little retry loop that retries 3 times. If it doesn't, if first it doesn't succeed, waiting 15 seconds, it goes around, tries again, and then a 3rd time, and the 4th time it doesn't succeed, then we just fail. And then finally, we're going to create the bot output, which will contain variables from the output, the travel advice and the flag, and we're creating them as Java variables and then setting them into the trip object, which we defined in Java in our object model. Okay, so now we've completed the first step. The second step is to modify the existing BPMN. Okay, so here we see the existing BPMN flow, and you can see it's very simple. Once you've triggered the process, it in parallel books a hotel and books a flight, and then confirms with the user via a task that the travel's been booked, and in the web user interface. So what we want to do is call our bot before this step, so that if the bot finds that it's a banned destination, it doesn't go into the booking, it just skips the whole process. So the first thing we need to do is create a stop travel user interface, and then what we're going to do is create a step that says if it's banned, then we stop travel. If it's not banned, we proceed with the booking. So the final step will be to actually call our subflow, which I showed you a minute ago, which calls the bot. So now what's going to happen is when the user sets the trip information, the trip object will be passed into this country check. Then it will extract the key information, which is the country, pass that information to the bot. The bot will then check whether the country is banned or not. If it's banned, no further progress we made, the travel stopped. If it's not banned, the hotel and the flight we booked and the travel will be confirmed. So now that we have made our changes to the process, we are ready to build it. So I simply call Maven to do this, and once you've triggered Maven, the Maven build is ready to run and test. Okay, so now we're finally at a time where we can run the new process. So what I'm going to do is first of all show you the underlying API which has been built by Cogito, and this API triggers the BPMN flows, but we're not going to be using these APIs directly, we're going to be going through the user interface. So I'm just going to add some dummy data to here, and then the key field is the country, which is Russian Federation, and city Moscow, with some random departure dates. And then when I press book your trip, the bot will be triggered. it'll come back that the country's banned, and then the process will stop and not proceed with the booking. So here we go, here's the result, and as expected, the travel advisory is level 4 and the booking is prevented. Okay, so that's the demo wrapped up. Just one final comment on the code itself. So it's all available on GitHub in this public directory here, and you're welcome to pull it down, build it, and play with it yourself. This full working example here with instructions. And on the final note, thank you for watching, and hope to see you again soon.